Hi, welcome to Stamp with Ginny. Today I'm going to share with you how I made this great little Epic Day flower bow. Once you know the trick, they're easy to do. So let me set this aside and we'll get started. Okay, here's the gift bow die, and I've got it labeled here so you can see the different parts that it cuts. For this particular flower bow, we're going to use section B and section D of the die. Let me set this aside and I'll show you how to start. Okay, the first piece of designer series paper you're going to cut is 4 1/4 by 3 1/2 inches, and you're going to set this over the section of the die that's letter D, the two tails. The next piece of designer series paper, and you're going to cut 5 of these, measures 4 1/2 by 2 inches, and you're going to set that over the B portion of the die. And the great thing about our steel rule dies is that you can cut several layers of designer series paper all at one time, so you can do this with one pass through the Big Shot. I'm going to set my second cutting pad on the top and I'm ready to run it through. Okay, I've got my pieces run through the Big Shot and I'm ready to start building my bow. The first thing you're going to do is take your bone folder and take your letter B pieces, all 5 of them, and run your bone folder over them to break the fibers a little bit so that it's easier to bend. I'm going to take these and I am going to take all 5 of them and place them one on top of the other, layering them as I go. I'm not using any adhesive for this because I'm using a brad, and that way I've got everything together without having to worry about that adhesive for my next step. So now that I've layered these pieces all on top of each other and lined up the ends, I am going to take my paper piercing mat and my paper piercing tool, and I am going to place a hole in the center of these tips. I'm going to wallow it out a little bit because there are quite a few layers here. And then I am going to take my antique brad and place it through that hole. And I'm doing this on my piercing mat because it'll hold everything in place. So now that I've got those on my brad, I'm going to set that to the side and do the tails. And I'm going to line these two tails up again. I'm going to place a hole in the center, kind of wallow it out. And then I am going to layer these two tails also onto that brad. And open up the prongs, since I've got everything layered the way I want, and fold them down to hold them in place. And at this point I can start fluffing my bow. So I'm simply going to take these two tails and turn them to the side, and then spin the petals of the flower bow around to create this 5-petal look, and adjust them the way I want so that it's how I'd like it. And I can fluff up my bow a little bit here just by using my fingers and make it pretty. Okay, here's the original project again using my Epic Day flower bow, and here is the flower that we just made together. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you'd like any of these products, feel free to stop by my online store. It's open 24/7 and you can get there from my blog www.stampwithginny.com. Thanks for joining me.